Alrighty, welcome to the 8th episode of the Suds to Success podcast. My name's Andrew.
I'm Rajan.
And
Down there
that's
we got
Dean Farandatos.
the man, the
The
myth,
man,
the legend.
legend. All right,
So much.
all right. So a few things before we kind of get started. This episode's going to be on why detailers should help each other. Kind of go over that. And I didn't think there was a better person to have on for this topic than Dean. It's going to be our first guest, and it was perfect. This topic really aligned well with how we all know each other and how I met Dean, and so I thought he'd be a perfect person. And all of his Facebook posts that he makes about helping each other and what we can do. So I thought it was no better perfect person to bring on for that. But first, if you haven't subscribed yet to the YouTube channel, subscribe. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Suds to Success Podcast, what we are on all those social medias. And then our website is suds2successpodcast.com. And we have on there tons of stuff we recommend. So if you want to get discounts on CRM, softwares, tons of different things that you could use in your business to make it better, all on there. And it helps the podcast out and has to keep going. All right. So why should detailers help each other? We can introduce Dean, kind of who Dean is. You've heard his name a few times, but let's hear it from Dean.
Yeah. Okay. I own Extreme Car Cleaning. I've been in the auto detailing business for over 35 years now. I started off with a little shop out in LaSalle called Delta Car Cleaning. And then I went mobile for about 15 years. And then I made my permanent shop here. So at my home. So I've done what Andrew did in the beginning. I've done what Andrew did midway, and then I've done what Andrew's doing now. So it's almost parallel to what he's done, but in reverse.
Urjan too.
Yeah. But I can't say enough about working together because we're living proof, the three of us, that it works. One of the big things I find is that when a customer calls me and asks for a price, I can save them time by telling them they're going to get the same price from the three of us. And we all tell the customers that. So usually that stops it right there and we just get the job, because at the level we're detailing at, it's not the same. And I don't mean any disrespect to this, but it's not the same as a car wash. A car wash works on high volume. They pump the cars through as fast as they can. It's not the same thing. It's like a fast food restaurant and a really good steakhouse. There's a big difference between the two. And we've all shared our ideas. We've all shared the types of tools we're using. We're all using the same products at this point. And it just makes it solid, because if I can't take on a customer, I will refer them to one of these guys, and then they do the same thing for me. It just makes it so much easier for us and the customer, so we don't lose that potential client.
Well, and this is kind of the mindset that Dean kind of brought on to me. He goes, the more people that know what they're doing in our industry, the better it makes me look. That's what he told me when I first reached out to him. And from the industry I was in before, it wasn't like that. It was so secretive. No one can help each other, nothing at all. Dean was the total opposite. And then what that did was, in my business, it kind of gave me the same mindset of we're here to help each other. And then Urjan's here. And now it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And we have many, you've even mentioned too about how for you in the beginning, you didn't believe me. You thought I was just full of crap. And
Dean, I don't know if you saw the last episode or whatever episode it was. I was telling Andrew, I'm like, these two guys, remember it was that snowstorm, and I came to the shop and I met you and Andrew, and I go, these guys are full of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way they're actually going to go out of their way. They're going to help me. They're going to get me situated to the shop. There's no way. And then fast forward a week later, I'm like, bro, I love these guys. I'm telling my dad about you guys. My dad loves you guys. I'm like, I love you guys.
I'll tell you. It's incredible. Honestly, man, I did 25 years by myself. Nothing sucks worse than to be by yourself, have nobody to help, nobody to reach out to, nobody to ask questions to. So you know what? After I almost lost my first shop, I was determined that if somebody ever asked me for help, I would be there and help them, because I don't want anybody to go through that. And the thing is, by sharing ideas, all three of us are a lot better than one guy, that knows a lot doing it by himself. He could still be better, And now, like, we're kicking back and forth. Like, I taught Andrew in the beginning, and now Andrew's teaching me, and I'm learning stuff from you as well. Like, when we work together, you start asking questions, say, why are you doing that? Why are you doing it this way? And then you learn and you get better at what you're doing. There's no replacement for that. I mean, you can't put a price tag on it. It is priceless. Like, to have help and work cooperatively, to further all our businesses, it's the best thing we can ask for.
100%.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's the best way to do it. Like, I mean, you hear about, and this is where, like, we'll mention stuff on the podcast about, like, helping each other. And I've had people, or like I've talked to people online or mentored them or whatever, and they're like, I showed them the website we have, when we have all the detailers. If they request a quote, it will send it to us for. And the guy looked at me and goes, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, like, these are my friends. Like, whatever, we get a quote and then it all sends from all of us." You're competing with your friend. Like, I've said it on here before, and like, they don't get it. But like, I don't know any other difference. Like, to me, and I know it's out there because I was in a different industry where it was a thing where, like, no one would talk to each other. Here, it's like I call Urjan like 4 times a day. Like, this is literally the most, like, you think we talk the longest on the podcast, but no, I literally had to get like unlimited minutes on my phone because this guy keeps calling me and harassing me, asking me questions.
Yeah. Well, you know
Get
what?
a load of this guy,
Yeah.
Dean.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Today was a perfect example. Okay, this show is going to be next week, but what happened today, a week ago? Okay, was I went and I helped Andrew at his shop, and we were working together. And then a customer called me and had a gas spill in their car. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but I would not recommend running an ozone machine in a car that's full of gas. Okay. So because of that, I said to Andrew, do you have, one of those chlorine bombs that I can put in the car and get rid of the smell? Because I can't use the ozone machine. And he said, no, but Urjan does. So I called Urjan. So, like, Urjan saved my bacon today because, I'm out here with my butt in the wind, and I got nothing to deal with this guy's car. And I called Urjan, he saved the day. So we're continuously doing that. Like, if one of us has a ceramic coating at the last minute and we just happen to be out of ceramic, we can always call each other. And it's huge, because to have that backup, I mean, it's crazy to have 10 bottles of ceramic in your shop and, gallons and gallons of car soap and everything else you need. It's a little nuts to have all the massive stock in one shop for each single shop. But if we all have a little bit of a product in each shop, it makes it a lot easier, because if you have a rush and you run out, you can always pick up the phone and somebody else will be able to help you. It just makes a lot more sense.
The other thing too is the person that's answering the phone is happy to help you.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's not, because it goes both ways. And
Yeah.
you could say, like, and you'll go through spurts where I won't need help. And it's like, literally, like, it might be 6 months where I don't need help. Dean calls me, let's say, every month, need something. And some people are like why? I remember people, like, I mean, people have said it before, and they'll look and like, why do you keep helping him? I go, because one time, watch, I will need his help.
Yeah.
And I'll be thankful that I gave him all those things. And he pays and whatever. It's not like I'm just handing him money for free. But it's true. Same with Urjan. There's times where, like, I've helped him, given him tons of knowledge, and people are like, why'd you do that? He's your competition. And then when I need something, let's say I need a bio bomb, he's like, yep, done. Hour. It's literally faster than Amazon. It's like literally he still has the polisher, I think, is still running in the shop by the time he gets to my shop. Like, it's still literally. So, and I think what that kind of demonstrates is strength in numbers. If there's something that I can tell the detailing industry, and I hope we get like a few people, is it's not that scary. Your competition, they're not that mean. They're not terrible.
You know what's funny? Like, Andrew and I started the Detailer's Guild with Carlos, right? And that was a while ago. And we've talked to detailers all over the world, and it's the same thing. Like, don't be afraid. Like, if you're watching this and you're in another city, don't be afraid to reach out to other detailers and, get to know them and go have a coffee and talk to these guys. You're going to find out they're just like you. I
Well, and
mean,
that's what you find. It's like this industry. I came from woodworking, for those who don't know. And so I got here and I meet Dean. He's like, add this one person on Facebook. I'm like, all right, join this detailing group. I'm getting 200 like friend requests, and they're just detailers. They're like, we all laugh because it's true. And I'm like, I'm a nobody. Like, I just have a bucket of soap and a vacuum. Like, I don't even. People are like, hey man, I'm from Florida. You detail? I'm like, what? Like, why are you? But like, and I just started talking to people. That's why I met detailers around the world. Is they just messaged me like, hey, added you, saw you had a vacuum. I'm like, what? You must be like me. I'm like, what the? So what that shows you is, and this is why I think the industry is fantastic at talking to people online. Like the amount of people that message me online, even from the podcast, like I was telling Urgent, I'm like, there's so many people now that are messaging me and like tagging me in posts or whatever. And it's like we just started. The support, honestly, the support that we get, and like, sure, like the views aren't like crazy, but I mean, like, for us just starting, we're talking about it all the time. Like, why? Like, we're doing pretty good, like in terms of like what we expected, like for this to be, right? Because we're just gonna talk and maybe like 2 people listen and whatever.
Yeah.
But like, we're pretty happy. And like the people that message us about like even just tips or whatever, and like the people that message me, they're not just brand new. Like I had people message me like they're doing like $1 million a year. I'm like, you're listening to my podcast? Like you're listening to our podcast.
Crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah, like you just look. So it's really cool. So what, like the best thing we can kind of give you, strength in numbers is a thing. Totally is. Because like, for example, Urjan will go through something, he'll call me, be like, did a customer ever say this to you? And I'm like, oh, a customer said this. Like whatever, and there's a list. He's like, oh, mine's not that bad. Then no, yours isn't that bad. Say this, do that. Like, it's so easy.
Well, yeah, it's great to have moral support because you know what? I'll be honest with you, okay? Like a detailer's life, you can't compare it to anything else, okay? We're waiting by the phone for a phone call. We work in the worst weather imaginable sometimes. We deal with stuff that nobody wants to see. They just want to walk away from it. And you know what? When you can reach out to somebody else that's been through that peril and can say to you, it's going to be all right, you feel 100 times better. Like as an example, last year on my birthday, I left my phone out, right? And it's on, and my wife hears ping, 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 like a freaking video game going on. It's people wishing me happy birthday from all over the friggin' world, and this thing went on for 10 hours. Like, I'm like, holy shit. She goes, who is that? Because she wanted to see who. She thought it's some chick trying to call me or whatever, eh? I'm like, here, look, and I showed her, and she couldn't believe all the people. She goes, you know all these people? I said, yes, I do. And there's
me and Andrew always talk about it. We're like, bro,
it's hilarious.
Dean is famous.
So little backstory.
You know what? Honest to God, Urjan,
you deserve it, brother.
People are not used to other people being friendly and respectful. They are not used to that.
100%.
And when you're honest and thankful and really nice to people, and you treat them the way you want to be treated, man, the outpouring is just amazing. These people love you. Like it's great. I went to Chicago, and a couple of my buddies that I've never met in person ran up and hugged me. Like, it was awesome. I felt great. Like, these are guys that I look up to, and they do amazing work. Just totally amazing. And like, I'm embarrassed to I would never even think to take my polisher out and polish something in front of them. That's how much I think of these guys. And they ran up to me and hugged me. Man, I felt like $1 million, like I was 10 feet tall. It's the greatest feeling in the world. And to have that kind of support, like, it's awesome. The more people you work with, the better it is. I mean, we all work together all the time, the 3 of us, but we work with so many other people too. Because when we don't have the answers, we can always reach out and get more answers from other people. And it's the greatest feeling in the world to have that support.
Yeah.
And like the thing is, like, so we kind of went over strength in numbers and how much we really help each other. Knowledge was what you just brought up, which is kind of what we can go over. Is when I look at, like, let's say I've been detailing for 5 years, you have as much knowledge as the people you're talking to. So I mean, if you combined all that together, if you have like even 80 years of knowledge, when you know all these people, You
Oh,
look and
yeah.
like even probably 80 is a low number. Like if all the people let's say you talk to 5 detailers, you're probably in like the 200s of like
Yeah.
years of like knowledge. Like, and you look, and every one of those people is going to give you some different tip of advice.
Oh, yeah.
And what I've learned too is every person you talk to or every person you sit down with is worth something. Like you'll get
Yeah.
something out of them. You can even look and be like, this guy, like you just know. You're sitting beside a person, they're just going and they're just yapping. And it's like no context, no information, nothing. You're just like what Urjan thought about me. He's like, this guy's talking out of his rear. Like literally, like you'll meet those people, right? You're not getting information. And then at the end of the conversation or later, like after, you'll think of something they said and they'll be like something stupid. Like, I don't know, a good example. I don't know, like something. I had a person once that said they're like someone that we don't talk anymore. It wasn't a good fit for both of us. They're another detailer, and they looked and they're like, "Why do you put your polish in your cupboard, not on your cart?" Like something like that, where it's like, why do we do that? Like you look and you're like I got that information from a guy where like I never talked to again. Like it wasn't like, but like I remember I looked, I'm like, we are so smart. Like why aren't we doing that? Like what I looked down on like me, and I'm like, why are we thinking that way? And it took just a regular, person that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, yeah, when you're doing stuff, you don't always think about it. Like,
no, you don't.
Well, yeah, and part of that, like, and when you're teaching too, like when I taught you, I couldn't think of every other thing because it becomes automatic after a while. Like after 15 years or 20 years of doing something, you don't even think about it. It just becomes automatic, right? And you just do it, because I've always done it like that. But you can't think like that. You have to think if there's a better way. Maybe I should watch this guy. Like I learned from a lot of young people, and I can say that now because I'm an old man, but I learned from a lot of young guys. Even like I watch Luke Wilson and some of these young kids that are coming up, and they have a lot of good tips. Like, not everything you do is the same way I would do it, or I would give them some advice back. But man, some of these things, because every person thinks differently about tackling a job. And when you take all those different sources and you add them all together, you can get an amazing service that works, and you're going to save your car times. You're going to save on product. You're not going to be going back and forth doing the same thing 2 or 3 times because there's better products out there that do multiple jobs all in one shot. There's so much you can learn and so much money and time you can save. And, if you don't work together with other people and you just think you know everything, man, you're only hurting yourself. Like, honestly.
And this is what you learn, because I've worked with people. I've been burned by people I've been working with. Like it's totally a thing. That's something to think about is when you get burned in the industry, and like it'll happen. Like, and that's what we're kind of like Urjan mentioned he was scared of, and I was. You're always wondering like, what's this guy gonna do? Like, what's the worst possible outcome to the way you think about it, like when you're not used to it. And what you realize is when you have a group of people and someone burns one of you, they burn the group. Like, so like if you have some, like, let's say you have a window tinter and like he's going to your shop and he like owes you money. I can tell you the second I answer the phone and I could call the group of people. I'm like, listen, this is what happened. I can tell you those shops are not working with that guy. it's not happening. So what you're really doing is you're creating kind of a united front of detailers in your area that are all doing things the same way, that are all charging the same amount of money, that's raising the local detailing industry as a whole. So like Dean said, he goes, when customers call, he goes and like they want like a $20 car wash. Dean just goes, don't call these 6 shops. You're just going to waste their time. They're going to waste yours. And it's true. It's because we're charging the same thing.
But I told the customer today when I was standing in Andrew's shop, somebody called me on my phone. And he says, I'm from Toronto. He goes, I only pay $125 to get my car detailed there. I said, sir.
It was a Honda Odyssey.
Yeah. And I said, listen, I told him $350 for an interior without seeing it. Like, I was being polite. Okay. But I said to him, I said, sir, you're looking for a car wash. I said, because the 6 detailers in this area, we all work together and we're all top of the food chain, and we do it like at a high level of professionalism. I said, if you call any one of us, you're going to be lucky to get that price, because you got to charge for your time. Like if it's going to take us 10 hours to clean something up or 8 hours, we got to get paid for that. And you know what? We all have, the guys that are doing it at this level, we have a lot of time and money invested in our shops. Like whether it's big or small, like I have as much money in my shop as Andrew does for equipment. Like Andrew's got a bigger shop. He's got bigger bills. But the equipment, when you take the equipment by itself, we're probably pretty close to the same amount. You know, and like if to do it at that level costs a lot of money. And you owe it to yourself to charge the right price so you can stay in business. Because if you don't, you're not going to stay in business.
So it gives you support, and that's kind of what Dean just emulated too. Is it gives you support in terms of if something happens to you negatively, you're going to help you. Like I literally looked at Erjan when he was looking at getting this other shop that was coming up his way. Like he's gotten a few offers and like different things. And he was nervous. He's like, because obviously when your rent goes up, you're nervous. Your bills go up, and you're nervous. I can tell you, there's sleepless nights, and there's times where you're like, why did I just sign that dotted line? But honestly, now I look back now, and I'm like, thank God I did.
Yeah.
And like my rent was like triple the amount of money that you were looking at. So when you looked at that, I'm like, you can do it. And I said, there's no way you can fail. Like zero. You have so much knowledge and power between us.
Yeah. One of the things too is like I went through this 30 years ago. You know, I had a shop 30 years ago. So when Andrew came and he worked for me for free, it wasn't really for free. It was an investment on his part because I told him what I went through. It saved him a lot of grief. And now he's sharing that knowledge with Erjan, and I'm saying the same thing to you, Erjan. I mean, you'll get through it, man. It's
100%.
It's scary, but Andrew and I are not going to let you sit there and eat.
And honestly, you know what's crazy? It's like the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, bro, like if it really got down to it, I couldn't pay the next month. I'd tell Andrew and Dean, and they'd probably send me like a ceramic. Or ceramic or two, or interior, every car, money, whatever it might be. I'm like, I got these guys. Like, I'm not even worried anymore.
Honestly, have a detailer fashion show if you wanted. We set up a runway, put some clothes
honestly,
on.
Like it's
whatever pays the bills.
Being 23, okay, being 23, I don't have large amount of money sitting in my back pocket, okay, but I got two friends in the industry who will go above and beyond to make sure that I get better every day. You know. Like I said, like if I know, dude, going to the shop, like my first shop, not knowing you guys remember, bro, I walked in that shop when I met you guys. I was like, I thought I was lost. Like I didn't know what I was doing.
I remember
I was gonna the first month. Now it's like, bro, I got this, bro. Like I'm chilling. Like, you know what I mean?
I remember when you walked into my shop, I met you in yours, and you walked into mine. You're like, oh my God, look at all the room in here. What are you doing here?
I was gonna say, like when I had my shop, the first year I was there, times were tough, right? Because I started, and I told Andrew this: don't ever get a shop in the beginning of the winter. Don't do that.
What did I do?
But he did.
In the beginning of winter.
But he knew he had the money to help him get through those months. Because I didn't. I went and I borrowed $500 off my credit card. I'm going into business. So I pay my first month's rent with my credit card. And then by the time February came, I was so broke, Erjan, I had to sleep in my shop for a month. I had a loaf of bread, and I was putting peanut butter on it, and I was drinking coffee every day that I made in the shop. That's all I had, man. I lost weight. Talk about a weight loss program. That's the best one to be on. The broke weight loss program is the best one to go on if you want to lose weight in a hurry. But I don't ever want to see anybody on this planet go through that again. No. And that's why, like, you know, I told Andrew all this stuff, you know, not to embarrass myself, but to save him from that hardship. And we're not going to let that happen to you either. So no, that's the nice thing. I didn't have any back then.
Yeah.
If I had known you guys back then, things would have been totally different. But, you know, now I believe in paying it forward, and we're all going to do that. So if somebody down the road comes by and wants to join us, I know you guys will do the same thing I did, you know, because, I mean, that's the thing. We all have to have each other's backs, you know.
Yeah, and I think go ahead.
Go for it.
Okay, I was going to say the humor part of it, bro. I've had some laughs with these guys. I swear to you. Like even like right now, like when we started the podcast, I just started thinking of stuff, and I don't know if nobody caught it in the beginning. I just started laughing.
Oh, yeah.
It's the
Some of
stuff
it you can't say on the air because it'll turn into a whole different podcast.
it's some of the stuff that like Dean will throw out, and some of the things that Andrew will throw out as employees. It's bro, it has me on the floor. Like it's hilarious, and it's like you need that. Like you're seeing cars that bro, like people like you've seen better days. Like there's cars that bro, it's people like it's whatever, right? And it's like to take two steps back and actually like sit down with people who are in your industry who understand what you're going through, who have been through it, if not worse, and to sit and laugh. It's like just like everything flies off. It's like, bro, imagine like when we talked about mental health on here.
Yeah.
You need like, but in the winter we're always laughing about each other. It's like I call Andrew, I call Dean, I'll be like, yeah, this guy wants an interior for $250, and it's like a beat down work truck, hasn't been cleaned in 10 years, like it's destroyed, and we're all just sitting there laughing. We're like, yeah, okay, well, good luck where he goes.
Yeah, or we'll just say what I do to Dean is I say tag you're it. I send it to him.
Oh yeah. I laugh because I get a message on my phone from Andrew. He'll text me, on message or whatever, and let me know that it's coming, and then I don't even finish reading it. My phone goes off, and it's this guy on the other line, right? Like it happened to me one time. Like, the one time I was like a friend of ours has his own shop too, and the one time I was babysitting a shop for him because he was gone out of the country. So I'm watching this guy's shop, and the customer called me on his phone, and then I gave him a price, and then he called me on my phone. And then the other phone went off, and then both customers ended up calling me on the opposite phones within 5 minutes. Like it was just nuts. So that's when I came up with the idea of instead of wasting your time here, I'm going to tell you if you call this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, or this guy, you're going to get the same price. The one guy said, "Didn't I just talk to you?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You own both shops?" I said, "No, I don't own them both." I said, I'm looking over and managing the one shop while this guy's gone. That's another thing too. When I'm in trouble and I get too many calls at one time, and like Andrew knows, I had to do this contract because this one contract I had a while back was they had overspray on all these cars, right? And they wanted to deal with me. Well, I can't very well turn that whole thing over to somebody else.
How many
at that
cars
time.
was it?
It was a rail yard.
Yeah, but how many cars was sprayed?
It was 12.
Yeah.
All
overspray all over it.
Oh yeah, and this guy was hot. Like he was not a happy camper. He wanted these cars done ASAP, and I'm like, oh my god, like. So I picked up the phone. I said, Andrew, I got a problem. I need help, man. He brought his whole crew to my house in my garage, and we're working in the 2-bay garage there, and we're getting all these cars done. We got it done, man. We had the thing done in a week. So all the cars were done within a week. Everybody was happy. We all got paid, and it worked out great. Like we always do that. Like now, Andrew and I actually went and I worked at this place. I'm not going to say where it is, but I worked at this place for a while, and they were looking to get into ceramic now. And I called Andrew and I talked to him about it. And then we ended up doing a vehicle for them later on, which which is recent. So we did a vehicle for them. They were so blown away. I said, now's the time. Let's go talk to them. So we went in there, talked to them again, and had a conversation with them and got the contract. So I couldn't have done that on my own because I don't have the manpower to do that contract. It's too big, right? For one guy, you can't do it by yourself. So Andrew's got the shop, Andrew's got the manpower, and I've got the connection.
And the good looks.
So the two of us are doing it together, and it's working out great.
Yeah.
What did you say?
And the good looks, I said.
Oh, yeah.
And he plays with hair.
You look like the Flash, right? Yeah, you look like the Flash, so you get...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All the women love a superhero.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Well, who wants to deal with an old man when you can deal with a young pup, right?
Yeah. Oh, but go back to it. I'm being serious for a second. 1 second, I gotta get serious again. What that did was, so if I didn't know Dean, wouldn't have gotten the contract. I can tell you 100% zero, because what Dean brings is trust, and they know him. People want to buy from someone they know, and they know the quality, right? Like we talked about that in a different episode. They love buying stuff from people they know, and they know like the level of respect and trust they have. So it'd be like me. If I came to you, Urjan, and said, "Hey, I have this guy. He's looking for a job. He's solid, and you're hiring. Would you hire him?"
100%.
Right, because you're like, this guy wouldn't do me wrong. Like, he's never done me wrong. His level is up here. So what you do, like what that did was when we walked in and Dean's like, listen, like I know it didn't work when like I approached you because you didn't, whatever, they didn't like certain things or whatever the reason was, they weren't in the right place or whatever. But this guy is. Like, and he's doing it with me, and I approve everything he does. That's an endorsement that's worth more than like $100,000.
Yeah, when you work with somebody for 10 years, okay, they know you. And that's the thing. Like I never screwed around at work. I was always punctual. I was always there. I would go into a dealership in the wintertime, man, and I go in there at 6:30 in the morning and plow the frickin' snow before I started work with the big tractor. I go in there with a front end loader and everything and plow all the snow. They don't forget that, okay? Because I would go in there in the wintertime, I'd go in there at 6:30. I wouldn't leave till 7 o'clock at night sometimes. Okay. And they don't forget that. So building those relationships with people and having connections in your little community like us, I mean, that's awesome. I said, because you know what's going to happen now is one day Urjan's going to have connections with somebody.
Or vice versa.
Then,
I am. And
and then we're going to end up getting more work. I mean, that's how it works. You know, we all pool our resources and then we make us all rich. You know, not rich yet, but I mean, eventually we'll all have money.
No,
you know?
but it makes like, and that's why it kind of like when you have a united front, is it brings everybody together. Because like it's, for example, let's say like Dean taught me a lot of time, and then I bought him a $1,000 ozone machine, and it's like literally like the least I can do.
That.
But it's the least I can do, and it's really like, it's not like flexing like, oh, I give him $1,000. It's like I owe him more than that. Like that's the least I can give him. It's literally, and I knew he would use it. He does tons of interiors I send him that need to be ozoned and whatever. And he was using this old like little ozone machine. Didn't really work, but it kind of did. It got the job done. I'm like, I want to knock the socks off this guy. So we had it imported from the US. I paid duty on it. What a nightmare that whole thing was. You don't need to know about that process. But anyway, it was a nightmare. And then I remember I just came to his house one day. So I at one night, I'm like, brought him his tea. So if you ever meet Dean, it's a green tea with honey in it. Large green tea, 1 honey. If you ever want to, schmooze him. And so I've got him the house. I got to show you something. I'm coming over tonight. He's like, yeah, man, come on. He has a car. And if you ever meet Dean, usually has one garage door half open. It's at the bottom, and he has a van going. It's like 9:30 at night, always, or some type of car, whatever, right? And it was the summer. And I looked at him, and he had his table, like his table set, and he had mats on it. And I'm like, you busy? And he's like, oh, yeah, always busy, whatever. And he's always has something going on. Even like, I remember, I'll kind of go back for a sec. Nick's like, we went there one time. He goes, he had vans. I kept sending him work. I had one day where like I just kept sending people work. Like people kept calling me. I'm like, I can't do it. And we were like a 2.5 car garage. And I wasn't like, now. So I'm just sending them like, call Extreme Car Cleaning, call Extreme Car Cleaning, call Extreme. So then we're done at 3. I think we had a coating. So like my shop's like full at the time. Like I can only fit one car in there. I'm like, we're letting it cure. So we drove over to Dean's and we pull into his driveway. And he has like, his driveway is long. So 6 cars, both sides lined up in his driveway, 3 on the road. I'm like, what's going on? He goes, all these people you saw, I just kept saying yes. And he goes, I'm working on them all weekend.
Oh, yeah. Well, my neighbor thought I was throwing a party. Because he saw all these cars in the driveway. He goes, you must be having a hell of a party over there. I said, party? I said, I'm working. He goes, really? Yeah. I said, yeah. He goes, I was wondering what's going on. What are you doing? I said, I detail cars, right? And he goes, I was wondering because, he goes, it looked kind of weird. He goes, I see this bright light coming out from underneath the door. He thought I'm growing something in my garage, like, because he sees these bright lights shining down the driveway at night, eh? And a couple of times neighbors have seen me out in the driveway with my headlamps on, checking cars over and stuff, and working outside at night with lights, and they're like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" Right? And then eventually they come around and I got the shop open. They can see I'm cleaning cars, and then like half my neighborhood, they get their cars clean here now, eh?
Yeah.
But
And I remember,
yeah, it's funny, man. Like, you know,
and then it's like that night when like I reached out to him, like, I'm gonna come see you. I'm bringing you a tea. He goes, okay, great. It's either a tea or a French vanilla. So either or,
yeah.
you'll win them over with either. And I remember I just looked and I said, "Oh, is you busy?" He goes, "Yeah." And then he had a van. He has this ozone machine sucks and whatever. And it's just perfect time. It was not planned. And I'm like, "Oh yeah." He's, "Yeah, it doesn't work. I gotta buy a new one on Amazon." I'm like, "How about you just look at this one?" I literally pulled it out of my car and he knew what it was. Cause like there at the time a YouTuber did a video on this company. And I remember he mentioned it to me. He's like, "These things are great." And he's like swearing on the phone. He's like so excited with these. Like, sends me it on like Facebook Messenger, whatever. And I'm like, okay. So like I reached out to the company. I'm like, how do I get one in Canada? And I bought one at the same time. Like, how do I get two in Canada? They're like, okay, this is what you do, whatever. Okay, great. So I gave it to him. I remember he's looked and he's looked. He goes, "Are you fucking serious?" Like literally all that he said. I'm like, yeah. He goes, "You're fucking nuts, man." And he like he knows how much it is.
I almost passed out, Erjan. I couldn't believe it. My wife says she was pissed, because she figured I bought it and just wouldn't own up to it. I said, "I didn't buy it." I said, "You gave it to me." "Oh yeah, I'm sure, because you go and you buy whatever the hell you need for your shop." I said, "No." I said, "I swear to God." I said, "You want to talk to him?" Said, "No, I don't want to talk to him." But she thought I went and bought this. I'm like, no, like I'm not that good of a liar, believe me. And
I remember, and this kind of really emulates this. My employee Colin. So before Dean's met Colin, Urshon has it.
Yeah.
I remember, so I buy these ozone machines, and like they were like, I think with duty it was like $2,400 Canadian. It's like I put a lot off. No, total. So I took a lot off my credit card. So I'm like, oh, let's go get ice cream. I didn't realize how much was off my credit card. So whatever. So I'm like, I give Colin the company card, and it was like, we have a few company cards. He buys ice cream, it's like $20. It goes declined. He's like, declined. And so he puts it in again. He goes, "What the?" And he goes, he looks at me and he declined again. He goes, "Are you able to make payroll this week or what?" I'm like, "I bought all these ozone machines. I have the money in the account. I forgot to pay the card." So I had to pay out the personal card. I remember, and the ladies looking at me like, and we're all in Excelsior gear, right? It's like we're in the line. And it's like declined. He's like, "Why is our company card being declined, Andrew?" I'm like,
oh no.
Well, you know what's funny, Erjan? That brings up. I'll tell you guys, it brings up another thing too. What happened to me one time was we all used the same distributor. Like, the truck, right? So anyways, he goes to this other shop and, he runs my card, right? And I'm like, it should be good. Like I put $1,500 on it the day before. But what I didn't realize was it takes a couple days for it to register on the credit card, because I had made a lot of purchases that month, right? And it hadn't all gone through. So I put $1,500 on it so that it wouldn't be maxed out, but it didn't go through. So, I'm like, oh my God, I need this stuff, eh? So the other guy goes and he goes, I'll pay it, because he knows I'll pay him back, eh? Like I said, yeah, I'll go get the money from the bank and give it to you. But that's another time, like you get in a pinch like that. And Andrew and I have done that before. Andrew goes and says, "Oh, if you need something, I'll just pay me back." But that's how tight we are. Like,
well, it's growing pains, right? So it's like back in the day where it's like I have like this small shop. I'm like literally doing one card at a time. I have 2 employees that I'm paying. So like my credit card limit wasn't high. I was new. Like I think I was your age, John. So I mean, like literally, like I was new. Like it was like me my first year with employees, and I remember like times back then where like you're like, oh, like you probably look at us like, oh, like they're not struggling at all, dude. We've been there. Like we've literally everyone goes through it, and if someone says they haven't, they are lying. They're just better liars than you are. Because it's true. Everybody has those moments in the beginning where like you have all your bills go through at once, something happened, you bought something, you forgot, and then it maxed out the credit card, and then you go into an ice cream line and like you're like flexing that you're like the best detailer in town, and it gets declined. It's like it humbles you so fast. Like you can't even be cocky at all. Because like you just look and like this girl who's like 16, like, oh, this is a detailing company in like the town, and like they know so much. And So like they knew of us and then declined. Like especially Colin, I go, if that ever happens again, do not ask why our company card's being declined in public. Like don't ever. It made it so much worse.
Is that why he doesn't work there anymore?
No, that's not why. He just said,
Or,
no.
you know what?
that's not why.
Like Urshan, like further down the road, when you start doing like big contracts, and they're going to pay at the end of that, man, that credit card is your best friend, because you go and you buy all your supplies to do this contract, and then you're sitting there waiting for payday. And nothing sucks worse than when it's an insurance company or something else, and you got to wait 3 months for that baby to get paid, right? And your credit card is just screaming, you know. Like, it costs us money. We don't have a lot of extra money to throw around, you know. We're not Elon Musk, right? So like we only have so much money, and once you pay your employees and you pay this and you pay that, you don't have a lot of money left. So when you're going to take on one of these contracts, sometimes your only option is either don't take the contract or use a credit card. You know, and when you're talking, you know, $10,000 and $20,000 contracts, you're not going to turn that down, man. You know, it's you're sweating it, but I mean, you can't turn that down.
What's scary? Like, I mean, even like where we're at now with this one, it's like I called the ceramic company. I'm like, listen, like I need stuff now, like now, and they're like,
yeah,
all right. And like they sent me, I think, so we're starting to buy gallon jugs from them now. Before it was just coatings, but like we're starting to sell gallons. So I just overnight it. They called me and they're like, yeah, the overnight.
Wait, what?
I don't know, gallon like products.
Oh,
I used to buy just coatings, so I'm like, just overnight it. And they're like, well, it's like, call me back. Like, it's $90. Do you want to pay $90 for shipping? I'm like, no. I'm like, just overnight the coatings then. It's cheaper to like snail mail the heavy stuff. And they're like, oh, we can do that. I'm like, okay, great. Now this is a question that people are going to ask. Is there any negatives? It's like, knowing all the details you've known, or like us, have you ever experienced a negative that it doesn't have to be with us? It could be helping something. Like, you don't have to like be like, Gene, this one time. No, you could literally like, is there any negatives you ever experienced ever about anything? Could be something small, like now this guy's calling me all the time, to somewhere where he didn't pay me for a week, like something random. Has there ever been any negatives that you've experienced, and doesn't be with us, but helping someone out, just helping someone out, that you want to discuss? You don't have to do names or.
The only, honest to God, okay, the only time it's ever put me in a rough spot is when I get up from the table and I say, look, I gotta go. You know, like, I've never had anybody ever burn me. None of you guys have ever burned me, but I've been in a situation where I know when I hear somebody's voice on the phone and I know they're in trouble, and I'm like, you know what, I got to do this. But the thing is, though, when I go out of my way to go and help that person at the time, you know I'm going to get a blast of shit when I get home, because, you know, I walked away from something I had to go and do something. But the thing is, though, when my ass is in the grinder and I pick up the phone and I call and they know I'm desperate, they come running over. Urjan's buddy dropped that off to me today. Andrew has opened up his shop at night and given me coating, and I don't expect him to do that, guys, because I earned it. Okay, but you know, because normally at 5 o'clock that baby's shut. And I was screwed one time because I got this guy called me at the last minute. He needed the coating done. He was leaving to go to Toronto. I was screwed. So I had to get this coating on this guy's car. And the only person I could turn to was Andrew. Okay, because I knew he had some more coating in his shop. So I called him and I said, look, I'm really sorry about this. But, you know, and you know, the thing is, like, I've never really had a negative experience with any of you guys ever. Like, if anything, you know, it makes you kind of like you feel like, well, we're family, right?
Yeah.
So like, if my brother's in trouble, I'm gonna help him. Like, you don't understand. I gotta leave. I gotta go, because I said, you know, next week, next month, next year, it could be me.
Oh, and it will be. And that's what you learn.
It's what you learn. It is happened.
It's like,
if Urjan has called me and asked me for help, I think you need to borrow a tool or something, a polish or
It was
something.
it was a polisher. So it was
Game on. I told him, come right over. No problem.
first ceramic coating. I'm ready. I
Oh,
unboxed my new Rupes. It wasn't
Yeah.
my first ceramic. I think it was one of the whatever. I go to turn it, and the dial just starts spinning freely. I was like, call
Oh,
Andrew. I was like, what the hell's going on with this? I'm like, is yours like this? I don't remember it being like this. He's like, no. So I called Dean. I'm like, Dean, do you have an extra polisher? He's like, yeah, I got like 4. How many do you want? I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah. You know what? There's no worse feeling in the world than to have to pick up the phone and tell the customer, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I couldn't do your car. This broke.
Come pick it
He
up.
doesn't want an
we've been
excuse.
there.
He wants the car done.
Yeah, we've been there, and that's
Oh,
why,
we've
like,
all
when you
been
see
there.
that's why when you see the bat signal in the sky from someone else, you're just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, here's my key, like this, whatever,
Yeah,
do what you
take
gotta
it.
do.
Take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys ever see a picture of a polisher up in the sky, shining up, you know what the hell it is. It's one of us is in deep trouble. And honest to God, it's like Batman and Robin. We hop in the Batmobile and we're gone. Like, that you can't. And like, I love my wife, but she'll never understand that because like a detailer's life is totally different than a common sense person on the planet. We are not like that. We're there for us first, and that everybody else comes second. And it's it's just the way it is. Like,
I wouldn't even say it's a detailer's way of thinking. I just think it's an us way of thinking. Because I mean, I've talked to tons of other detailers, and like if you ask them, it's like I have one person now. Every time they message me, they're asking me for something, always. And it's one of those things where, and there's people like that in your life. They're always, you see the name pop up on the phone, you're like, oh my God, like, what do they want? Like, you just know they want something. They're not just calling you to like shoot the shit with you. No, they're literally calling you to be like, hey, my life sucks. I need your money. Like, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then you get to the point where, you kind of look at it, you're like, I'm not helping this guy anymore. It's ridiculous. Like, I can't help.
That's the thing. We have a special clique. I mean,
that's what I mean. But it's not even, I wouldn't say it's detailers. I would just say we're just crazy.
I'll be honest with you though. Any group of detailers that get together and get, have what we have would totally understand what I'm talking about. That's why I say detailers, because when Andrew and I started working together and word got out about that, I had no idea this is going to happen, but other detailers from other areas in Canada and the US and stuff started hooking up together and working together. And they said, oh, I can't thank you enough. What did I do?
You posted about it. What you're not realizing
that it worked.
No. But what you don't realize that you do, and maybe you do, is the amount of people that listen to you because you make those posts. And yes, you make a lot of them, and I get tagged all the time, and I'm very thankful for it. But there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them, right? Amazing. What you don't realize by making those, the amount of people that see them. Like even Urjan messaged me, he goes, he shared it in 30 different Facebook groups. That's what he messaged me. I'm like, yeah, but like, because you don't realize.
He posted it 31 minutes. It was said 31 minutes ago, and then it had 21 shares. I texted Andrew a screenshot. I said, dude, this guy, what does he have?
Well,
there's no way. It's crazy.
But like, honest to God, I'm honest with people. I like to help people. That's what started all this stuff before.
It's not just that. What you're really downplaying is the reach that you have. Is you can help people. I
wasn't aware of it.
I'm saying now.
I know now. And
now you're a celebrity. You walk into my shop, you get that coffee out of that Keurig, you say, hey, Dean's here, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Get me ready. But honestly,
I feel great. But you know what? Unfortunately, like when I walk into, like, here's the thing, okay? If I go to a detailer's convention, right, and my buddies are there and stuff like that, I'm, on top of the world, okay? People come up, shake my hand, hug me, are happy to see me, smile, everything else. When I'm around my regular friends and my regular family, I'm just a guy that takes out the dog, feeds the dog, and empties the dishwasher. That's it. Trust me. It's kind of weird because it's like you live two lives, because we have our detailing life and then we have our home life, and it's not the same thing. Like my wife will never understand what I go through and what I do. And that's okay, because what she does at her job, I would never understand that either. Like, I couldn't do her job. And I respect that, So I give her a lot of leeway and, I give her a lot of space when she needs it because she just doesn't get me sometimes. But we get each other. That's the thing. That's what I think makes this work so well. And that's why we get along. Because honest to God, like the three of us, we don't care what color the wash mitt is. We don't care what color, the microfiber is. Hand me a microfiber, let's get the job done, and that's it. There's no fighting and arguing and bickering over, minuscule crap. We just get the job done. And, it's great to have that friendship, Like I love it.
I think, but back to the point though, you're right. It is about the friendship, but it's about the reach that you have. Like the amount of people I've reached out to from different companies, like trying to rep them or whatever. And let's say Owner's Pride. Paulo's a great example. Didn't know Paulo. Barely knew him back then. It's like when I got a referral from someone who's well known in the industry. I remember I said, hey, I have a group of people here. We will use your product. Like I am fully supporting it. It's like, okay, what's their names? And he goes like, okay, you can train them. Like, okay, great. And I said, Dean Farandatos. He goes, you know Dean Farandatos? Like,
well, you know what's funny? You wait a year from now when you keep doing this podcast, and the same thing's going to happen to you, buddy, because that's what happened to me. Because I did my podcast, and then I was on. Ivan asked to come on my show to help me out, which I thought was really cool. Okay, because he said, I'd like to be on your show. And at that time I had, professional detailers that weren't icons, just regular working guys that I really appreciated their work. They were on my show. And then Ivan called me, right? And I almost passed out because Ivan is like the guy, right? And he's trained Andrew and I, but you know what? Like he's so humble and so nice. You forget when you're in the room with him, you forget who he is after 5 minutes.
You do.
He's so awesome. He is so awesome. But yeah, people like, Ivan? I said, he trained me. So when you get certain people in your network that are well known, it only escalates from there. Like people are like, oh, so-and-so, I want to be your friend too.
It's trust.
Man.
It's the legacy that they've kind of built. And it's the same thing. Ivan trained me. It's like when I don't pull the card too often. Ivan knows when I do, or I ask him to like make a connection. Same with Dean is when you name drop like that. And like I'm name dropping people that are knowing that I'm name dropping them. Like I'm not, if I didn't know Dean, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I talked to that Dean guy once and, whatever. But like, it's people that they're comfortable with you name dropping them. Like, hey, I worked with so-and-so. And they're like, oh, really? And like, I remember I talked to Dean when we were having a problem with the brand. Okay. So this is like probably 3 years ago. It's like, I didn't have my shop yet. It was like, I forget. And I remember you had that black truck that you were putting that certain coating on. Yeah.
It was, so and I'm not going to mention which company it was because it doesn't matter. No, I don't remember. Yeah. Anyways, what happened was it was my first time using this product. Okay. There's nothing wrong with the product. There was something wrong with the installer because I wasn't used to it, right? So I go and I put this product on the car, beautiful product if it's put on right. But I didn't realize at the time how sensitive it was to humidity, okay? And it was like 95% humidity and 95 freaking degrees outside. So as soon as I put this on there, it's stuck on there like maple syrup on a kitchen table, okay? And I'm trying to get this stuff off, Not happening. Not happening, man. It was Rainbow City all over this thing. So I ended up having to polish the whole thing after. And at first I thought maybe it was the product, right? So I reached out to some guys from the company.
So before you do that,
go ahead.
This is my point. Dean, because this is what Dean is. Dean will have everybody on Facebook. He literally just calls like the lead inventor of this product on Facebook Messenger. Just calls the guy, like doesn't give a flying nothing. Calls the guy. And then the guy answers on video call. Like they're just talking about what he went wrong. Or he did this with another company too. We were talking about, I said, I wanted to start selling a brand and it was for towels. And he literally goes, oh, let me call up so-and-so, puts him on video call. I'm like, you don't just call this guy on video calls. He's like, sure I do. He's my friend. And they'll answer. And I'm like, these are guys that are running like big companies. But because, and this is the same thing, like I tell Virgin all the time, I go, do not ask people for favors when you don't need them. Always offer. Because here's the thing. When let's say you make a phone call and you don't have the credibility and you call a place. Let's say you call a mechanic shop and you call and say, listen, so for example, in our shop, this happened. We were cleaning a convertible. Okay. Turn the convertible top on. It got stuck halfway up. Wouldn't go down, wouldn't go up. So I had to have a mechanic come with like a scan tool and lower it, right?
Yeah.
All the mechanics are busy. It was a holiday weekend. The ability to say that I've always given people, if anyone needs any help, I always try and help them. I called up a mechanic, one of the busiest shops in the city. I said, hi, it's Andrew from Excelsior Detailing. They're like, yeah. I said, listen, I got a problem. They're like, okay. And I said, so I'm working on this car. We open this convertible top up. It got stuck. It literally won't go down. And the thing says just error on the car. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. I said, how busy are you guys? Oh, no, we're not going to be able to look at it for like another 3 days. I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. So I said, how much will you charge me to drop it off? And the problem is I'm towing it to you because I'm not driving with the convertible top sticking straight up. Like I'm not doing that. They're like, all right, we're sending our lead mechanic there. And he's going to bring a scan tool and he's going to figure it out. He'll be there in like 30 minutes. I'm like, in this shop, 50 cars a day is slow. So doing the math there, like they have government contracts created. It's like this lead mechanic's time to pull them off of whatever they're working on, millions of dollars a year in like one contract. I know they have one contract, $3.5 million a year. Like these aren't like small shops. He came, didn't work. His scan tool didn't work. He's like, something's wrong with this. Either the scan tool or whatever. I go, okay. He goes, call the shop when I get back. Give me about 20 minutes so I can sit at my desk when you call because they're just going to ask me anyway. Call 10 minutes later. I'm like, hey, like I need to book this in. They're like, okay, we can't do it today because it's like 4:30. I'm like, all right, no problem. I told the customer and I said, they'll work on it tomorrow. They said, we'll work on it tomorrow. And I said, okay, what tow company should I use? They go, no, we got a guy. I'm like, what do you mean you got a guy? We're just going to send our shop guy. He'll drive it back. Don't worry. He'll put the 4-ways on and drive it back. I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking, like, I remember looking at it, I'm like, this is going to be expensive. Like, I don't even want to pay this. So they brought it there. They brought it back in the morning. And they're like, what time do you get there at? I'm like, I'll pick you up. I don't care. I will drop you up. I don't care whatever this guy needs. Like, I'll give him a Mickey. I'll give him whatever. I'll give him coffee, whatever he wants. Like, I don't care. And so they're like, yeah, just come pick him up at 8 o'clock. I'm like, all right, no problem. Picked him up at 8 o'clock. Drives the car there. 9:30, like, car's ready to go. I'm like, well, that was fast. Like, yeah, our other scan tool closed it. I'm like, okay. So I go, and it was just me and Nick. So I literally had to close my shop for him to drive me there. I'm like sweating. I'm like, hey, this detail is $250. I'm like, there's no way this is gonna like work. And then so I get there and I say, okay, how much is it? And they're like, it's free. You gave us coffee and donuts and you're always nice to us. I go, no. I go, no. I said, like, I took your lead mechanic. They're like, yeah, the owner noticed that. He said you owe us one. I'm like,
you know what?
All right.
There's no price tag you can put on helping people out. And I'll tell you something. I think the biggest thing that got me noticed, okay, in the beginning, if I used a product or I used somebody's information from a video, I always gave them credit. When I talked about it in my videos, I always gave them credit. And then later on, when people got to know who I was always willing to bring people together. And the best example I can think of, okay, was my friend Alex Russell that has his podcast, okay? He was looking for somebody to come on his show. And I said, well, who do you want? He goes, I don't know. I said, well, what about Jimbo Balaam? Because Jimbo was the very first auto detailing podcast, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, are you serious? I said, well, yeah. Like, I know. I'm like, so I messaged him while I'm on the phone with Alex. And I said, yeah, he's going to do it. So he'll call you. And Alex almost passed out. Like, he thought this is great. But you do it because it's the right thing to do. Like, I saw an opportunity to help Alex. Alex helped me by having me on his podcast. That was huge for me because I went on his podcast and then other people wanted me on their podcast. Like, you help each other. You know,
but to conclude the podcast, if you haven't subscribed yet, commented, or liked the video, please do. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. We'll answer them in the next podcast, or message us on any of our social medias. We'll get those asked for you. Suds to Success Podcast on all social medias, and it's Suds to Success Podcast skyrocket.com with all of our software we recommend and all the fun stuff there. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week and you find some other detailers to talk to and kind of build on your business.
Can I plug you, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay, listen. For anybody that's out there watching this that knows me, these guys are awesome, okay? And honest to God, it's a pleasure to be on the show. Please reach out to them if you guys want to be on their podcast, because these guys are really good. And they're good detailers. I mean, you know, I love working with them. They're a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. Please support the show. And by all means, reach out to Andrew or Erjan and come on here and talk to them, because they'd love to have you guys on. So anyways,
Thank you very much.
This was great. It was a lot of fun, guys.
Dave. We can't wait to have you back.
Okay, take care, guys.
Have a great night.
All right, you too. Bye.